Okay, boker tov. I was told you should never begin a presentation with an apology. I have to apologise, אני מדבר קצת עברית, but I do speak Joomla. I am going to be speaking in English. I'll try to speak slower than I normally do. If you have any problems understanding me, wave, throw things. It won't make me suddenly speak in Ivrit, but it might make you feel better. So just to explain a little bit about what is a Bryan. I'm the co-founder of Joomla. So for the last 11 years I've been playing with this software. I'm not a developer and I'm definitely not a designer. Yeah, I'm just a user. 30 years ago I lived on Kibbutz Lotan in the Arava. That's where I learned my really bad Ivrit. And you can find me on Twitter or on my blog or Facebook or pretty much anywhere with my name. In terms of Joomla, I am just a community member. I'm not leadership role or anything like that. I'm just a community member who dreams of beer and falafel. Because I love falafel. But what about Joomla? Because that's what you're here for, not to hear about my love for falafel. That's why I'm here, but you're here to learn about Joomla. So the first thing to tell you is Joomla 3.6.3 will be released very soon, within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we hope. And that's just a bug fix release, but there are hundreds of bug fixes. Actually, there's been a lot of work gone on by people, a lot of contributions, but that's just bug fixes, no new features. So nobody wants to know about what bugs we fixed, you want to know about the new features. So we're aiming for Joomla 3.7 in December. Yeah, no promises, but we hope for December. If we miss December, then with Christmas and New Year, it'll be end of January or February, so we're really hoping for December. So what can you expect to see? Well, I think that Joomla 3.7 is the release for stupid users. And I'm a stupid user. So what's one of the best? I'm not just a stupid user, I'm a lazy user. Yeah? Why do I love Joomla? Because it makes my life easy. And Joomla 3.7 is going to make my life even easier. How's it going to do that? Well, one of the first things, and I'm going to be showing you lots of little video clips now. One of the first things is, this is the menu system. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. This is just to create a menu to a single article. And if you remember, there is a button normally that says select. You can see now there's a new button called create. So you would select which type of menu, then you would go and you would select your article. But I'm a stupid user and I'm lazy and I forgot to create the article. I don't need to go back to the articles now. I can just go directly from here and create the article. And it's the same with all the menu types. If it was a contact, you could do the same thing, or a category, you can do the same thing. So that's one thing that's going to make our lives easier. You're not there opening the screen, oh, I forgot I hadn't done that yet. We can still do it. Now another thing that really annoys me for years is throughout Joomla we have options. And those options usually say, use the global setting. Now I don't know how good your memory is, but I cannot remember what the 1,000 settings are that I've set as global. In Joomla 3.7 I don't need to remember, because it now shows me what the setting was. Yes, show, hide, display, 5, 4, whatever it is, it's going to show you there. This may not be the final view. We're trying to work out a way to make it get the colours as well, but that's a little bit difficult, so at least it will show this. Oh, more falafel. Now, everybody here probably has to install Joomla in at least one other language, in at least Ivrit, but maybe in Arabic or in Russian, and maybe some other languages as well. Now the problem with Joomla has always been brilliant at having language support. It's been one of the best CMSs for language support since the beginning. We're very proud of that. But this is how you have to install Hebrew today. You go to the language manager, you search for Hebrew, you get the results, you select it, then you click install and it goes ahead and it installs the language. Then you go to the language page and we can see now we have the site language installed and we have the administrator language installed. What we've not got is the content language. So you have to go to the content language and you type in Hebrew. Now I can't remember what the native name is. I'll just write Ivrit now. The language tag, the URL. Oh, what was the language tag? Look at the help. I got that wrong. Should be that. And you have to do all this. And if you get anything wrong in this, it doesn't work. So that's a bit of a pain. So now in 3.7, switch sites, we search for Hebrew. We install it. And when it's installed, we go to the languages. We can see that the site and admin language has been installed just as before, but now, magic, we click on content languages, and it's there. It's all done. Now, it's not published by default. There's a whole argument about why it's not published by default, but I think we'll all agree clicking one publish button is a lot better than having to do all the rest and getting it wrong. Yeah? In the UK, people get it wrong all the time for English, because it's ENGB for Great Britain, not ENUK for United Kingdom. Because if you do UK, you get the Ukraine. So it's really difficult. So I'm really happy that we've got that. So what about Hebrew or Ivrit? So it was mentioned, Shirat mentioned before that Yair has been updating all the language strings. So Joomla's language strings have been missing a lot. A lot of them are still in English because it's not been updated for several years. Joomla has a project on crowdin.com. Anybody can go there. If you need the URL, if you can't see the URL, just ask Yair afterwards. Anybody can go. You can find the Hebrew section. You can see all the language strings that need to be translated still. And you also get the opportunity to submit corrections if you don't like what Yair did, or just to click another button to say, yes, I agree that that's a good translation. And right now, it's at 93%. Now, I think before Yair started, it was probably at about 56%. Yeah, very low. So it's much, much higher, and hope when 3.7 is released, definitely this will be included. Maybe in 3.6.3, it will be ready, I'm not sure. So that's a big improvement. So some of the other changes that you'll see are not as big, but can be quite nice. So in 3.7, we've changed the date picker. It just looks a little bit different. It's much easier to use. It's more accessible. It can actually be used with a keyboard. That bit's just been done. And you can do the time now as well. I have to point out that up until 3 days ago, you in Israel were not going to get this. Because they decided that you don't use this calendar, you use the Jewish calendar. So all you were going to be able to put is that it was published on the 1st of Tishrei. And I had to explain that yes, it is the Jewish calendar, but Jewish and Hebrew are not the same thing. And I've explained this to them 5 times. And 4 times they removed it, and then somebody else came along and put it back. So right now it will be, as you expect, in September, October, in Ivrit, but not Tishrei and Kislev. I was talking to Shirat yesterday, is there a possibility to have Tishrei and Kislev as well? It's probably not going to be that easy to do. It's easy to do it technically, but not to offer you both at the same time. So it's a project that Shirat and I have been talking about last night, and maybe we'll work out a solution to be able to have both Hebrew and Jewish calendars. But that field brings me to the big thing that's in 3.7. It's called custom fields. So if anybody's been using lots of other extensions that let you add fields to Joomla, You don't need to use them anymore. It's in 3.7. Now the version in 3.7, to be truthful, will allow you to do all the fields that you want. But in terms of the layout, it's going to be quite basic at the beginning. That will come in a later release. What can you do with these fields? Well, this is my website. Press play. I'm going to create a brand new article. And it's for Sammy's Falafel Bar. So I've gone Sammy's Falafel Bar. Everything looks the same right now. But now I'm going to go put it in the falafel category. And as soon as I put it in the falafel category, you'll see a new tab appear called falafel. That's where I have my extra fields. Now I've just put some extra fields in now, photo, the date that I visited the place, my rating, my mash time, and my review. And I could even do a color scale to say what color grade the falafel are. You can do lots of different fields and lots of different field groups. See here, we have groups and fields. So you can see here I've created several different radios, checkboxes, images, calendars, media files. There's about 30 different types of fields at the moment. Those fields can be set into groups, and those groups can be applied per category. So a group is a tab in the article editor, and that could be for, so you could have a group that's displayed on all your articles. You could have a group that's displayed just on some categories. It's completely up to you. It's very, very flexible. If you're a developer, it's not just limited to the articles. You can add it to your own components as well. So you have a consistency, and you can actually share the fields across your components as well. All that will be documented and will appear on the websites when it's ready.
I have a question.
Can I leave it till afterwards, if that's okay? Talking about falafel, it just makes me hungry. So something else. Now this feature, is 50-50 whether it will go into 3.7. It may be ready, it may be not. One of the things in Joomla is, of course, we have the WYSIWYG editor across the top. And right now, the Joomla editor has 3 modes. It has, this is the regular mode, which is called advanced. Oops, hold on. We have a simple mode, which is called regular, just to be confusing. And then we have a super. But now the idea is we're going to allow you to have multiple sets of editors with some predefined groups, just as you have right now. But you can also create your own, just by dragging and dropping what you want. So I've dragged the edit box, the bold, the paragraph, the table. Let's grab the image editor and the video editor. And that's it. And then I can assign this editor to one group of users, to one access level. So I'm going to put this one to my registered users and keep going. By default, you have 3 groups, but if I go on to the next tab, I can set to have 27 groups, or 99 groups. It really doesn't matter. You're unlimited. Don't please do 99. It will become a pain. But you can do all sorts of different ones. So now you can have different editors for different user levels and completely customize the buttons. So I hate seeing people using colored fonts and fonts with backgrounds on and things like that. I want to remove those options, but I want to give them access to all the other advanced cool stuff. I can do that now. And I can do it differently per different group. And this is for the front end and the back end as well. Doesn't make a difference. You set it exactly how you want. So this one is about 50. As you can see, it's working. We just need some more testing on this one to make sure that it will be ready. So again, another one which still needs a bit more testing is images. Some people may know there's a project to completely redo the media manager. Now, unfortunately, that is not going to be ready for 3.7. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the features that they do have ready and bring them into 3.7. So what are they? Well, the first one is an image cropper. So you open your image up, and you can change the size, you can crop it, you can also flip, and you can rotate, and lots of other things that are probably very stupid to do, but somebody will want to do them. So we can do all the cropping, and then this one is more interesting, I think, which is image filters. There's going to be a group of predefined filters that you can apply to your image, and you can also manually adjust the filters as well. So this one probably will make it into 3.7. We've taken it out of the new Media Manager because that's not ready yet. Of course, it's not a replacement to Photoshop or real image editing, but it is still useful to be able to quickly make some edits or some crops, just adjust the colors slightly. So this is the biggie, and it's the hardest one for me to explain. I can't show you a video, so I have to just try my best. So the router means the code that makes the URLs. Okay? So can I ask, who in this room, is there anyone in the room who's written their own components? Okay, a few people. Have you written your own routers? A few people. Was it easy? Nobody. Yeah, it is hard. Yeah, the code from that is really hard, really complex, almost impossible. So the code has been rewritten completely for that, so that if you need to write your own components and want to write your own router for it, it's now ridiculously easy. So that's the good bit. What else can it do? Well, by default, out of the box, 3.7 will not change your URLs at all. There is no change out of the box. Because it still uses, by default, the existing router. We're calling it the legacy router. Why are we still using the old one? Because there's a small chance on some sites that if we switch to the modern one, some of your URLs might change. And that's an issue for some people. Yeah? So it's not on by default, but you can just go per component, switch it on, test it, and see. In my test, I've done it through all of my sites for testing, and it's 99.99% the same. And in fact, the only URLs that were different on my site were URLs that I discovered shouldn't have been there in the first place. So that all works perfectly. But there's a second option. Yeah, to switch on, not only switch on the modern way, which is actually faster. Your site, if it's a big site, you will notice the speed. If it's not a big site, you can measure it, but it's in milliseconds, so you probably won't see it. But the other thing you can do is these URLs, where it says 356-article. Why do I get that? That's because I don't have a direct menu link to that, so it shows the ID number of the article. And ever since I've been involved in Joomla, people have hated that number. Yeah, personally, I'm not bothered, but it's the number one thing for the last 11 years. How can I get rid of the number? Well, with the new router, you just tick one box, and the number's gone. Yeah? So what does that mean for your existing sites if you tick that box? If you have a link in your existing site to an article called 356-article, it will still work. But if you are navigating through your website by going through the category blog or category list, it won't be 356-article, it will just be article. Yeah, so it's an option for you to turn on and turn off. There's always, whatever I say about URLs, there will be one SEO person that says it's completely wrong. And whatever I change it to, there'll be another SEO person that says that's completely wrong. Yeah? So we're giving you the options. We're giving you all the choices. So that's the biggest change that's in 3.7, although it's a change that for most of you, you won't even notice it. It's not something you will actually physically see. And I have to say, the guy who's written this code, Hannes, has been working on it for at least 3.5 years. So it's been a long time. We still need more testing on it. especially the part for removing the numbers. So when you see an announcement that 3.7 alpha or 3.7 beta is out, please follow the instructions, test it, try it, report back what doesn't work, what does work. The more people that test it, the better it is. There's nothing. One of the things I do for the Joomla project today is I manage, one of the people that manages the bug tracker. And every month somebody will come on and will post, I can't believe this hasn't been fixed. It's been broken for 4 years. And I go, has anyone ever reported it? But it's been broken for 4 years. It's obvious. Well, obviously it wasn't obvious because it's not been fixed in 4 years. And usually things are fixed pretty quickly. So if you see something, report it. So we do need people who test things. So just, that's about what's been happening and what's happening for Joomla code. What about some changes that have been happening in the community that you should know about? And there's been a lot just in the last week. So just very, very quickly. I think this is opening today. Yeah, I got a message last night saying hopefully he will turn it on today. We used to have a shop where you could buy t-shirts and hoodies and things. The quality wasn't very good, so we closed it. Now they're really high quality stuff. It will be on shop.joomla.org, and there's t-shirts and hoodies and stickers and all sorts of baseball caps and mugs and all sorts of other bits and pieces. There's also the opportunity, if you're a great designer and you come up with something, that would be really cool for a t-shirt, maybe like something like the one I've got on. There's the opportunity for you to submit your design as well, so we can maybe have that one manufactured. So that hopefully is opening today. This one launched last week, and this is free Joomla video training in English. Sorry. There's some of you may be familiar with a company called OS Training who sell video training courses. So they now offer, I think it's 5 different classes. Beginners, intermediate, maintenance, security for Joomla that are free, and they're on training.joomla.org. So you got those, and one of the reasons why we did this is so that we could do this. And this is certification.joomla.org. You don't need to worry about all the names, just go to any of the Joomla websites, there's links to everything. The certification project is a new thing. This is the ability, these are exams. It's not a course to go on, it's just an exam to take that will certify you as a Joomla administrator. It's not a developer, it's a Joomla administrator. Test. Cyril might be mentioning it later, I don't know. There are companies that are set up around the world who are able to offer those exams. And there will be more added, and we're looking as well at some other methods of maybe having some purely online testing. I forget how much it is in shekels to take the course, because it's done on the McDonald's index, which means that they set a price in US dollars, and then there's a global chart of how much a McDonald's Big Mac costs. And then they apply that formula across every country in the world, and that's how you work out your price. Which has been an interesting idea because there are some countries, believe it or not, that doesn't have McDonald's. But yeah, so there's the exam program now. And then also this week, we announced starting work on Joomla 4. We have a target date, not of a release, but of an alpha, an early test of the end of May. Yeah, we might be lucky and get to a beta stage by then, but that's kind of where we're looking at. Again, if you want to know more, go to the Joomla.org website. There's more information there about the release. What we're looking at doing with Joomla 4 is, I think the best way to describe it is evolution and not revolution. Okay? So the idea is every so often you do need to make a backwards compatible break. It happens. We would love it if nothing ever broke ever and we could just add new things, but it's not realistic. So every so often you do have to make those changes. Joomla 3 has been around now for 4 years. It's the longest Joomla release ever. So we will be making some backwards changes for Joomla 4, but not major ones. The hope is that any changes that are made will not drastically affect you if you're doing an upgrade. It might just be clicking on a couple of options. Yeah? We don't know yet until it's done, but that's the hope. It's not going to be it's going to be an upgrade, not a migration. If that makes sense. So that's the idea for that. We're definitely looking for people to help contribute to Joomla 4, whether that's for development or for we want to make a lot of workflow changes. You know, the process of creating your website. So we're looking for input from people who have got experience on workflow, user experience, user interface, things like that. And that's brand new. And again, if you go to the website, you can find out more details and the contact details for George, who's leading that project, and you can get in touch. So the thing to know is that even when Joomla 4 is released, we are committed to supporting whatever is the current release of Joomla 3 for 2 more years. So if Joomla 3.7 is released in December and Joomla 4 is released in May, we will continue to support Joomla 3.7 for bugs and security till May 2017 to May 2019. It's not going to be a case of, you're off. We're also not going to do what I understand happened yesterday in Israel, where we set a deadline for the accessibility changes, and then we put it off for a year. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We will be strict on the 2 years. But I think 2 years is a good time frame. That gives you, for even the biggest websites, gives you the time to plan and to work out what needs to be done, if anything, to move forward. So there's lots of ideas that we have for Joomla 4. Just to give you a couple of the ideas, as you know, Joomla 3 is designed around Bootstrap version 2. With Joomla 4, we're actually trying a few different methods. One is to base it around Bootstrap 4, which is not yet out, but we're planning ahead. The other is to actually not base it on any framework, but to allow any framework to work. Which is technically harder, so that could be Foundation or who knows what else. We can do that, it's technically harder. We're trying to work out a way to make it easy for you to actually use before we do that. So that's one of the things we're looking at doing. There's some of the libraries that are underneath for developers are being completely updated. Some of that's already been done. Again, ordinary users are not going to see any of that. And there's some other interesting ideas about how extensions share content between extensions. So I said in the fields, it's possible to define a custom field and then use that custom field in other components. We're looking at similar ideas for that for the whole part of components as well. But at the moment, a lot of that is just writings on pieces of paper. There's no code. Yeah, it's just ideas. So we're really looking for ideas. And we've got a team of people who've already started working on the user interface design and the front-end design. And I found out yesterday, which to most countries in the world and most people in the world means absolutely nothing, but it does mean something here, which is that by default, the new version of Protostar, the new default Joomla template, is aiming to be accessibility AAA rated. Yeah? Right now it is, but we don't know what happens when we put the Bootstrap 4 part in. So we might have to make some changes, but right, that's the aim, is to make it fully accessible at AAA rating by default in the front end. Yeah? It can be done now at the front end, but it takes a bit more work. But the aim is that Joomla 4 will absolutely be AAA at the front end, and hopefully in the admin as well. Right now, the admin, we've done some work. I've done some work in the last few months on the admin that actually is going into 3.6.3, which is improving the accessibility. But we're not actually announcing that because it's not enough. It's not enough to shout that we've done these bits without the rest. But that's going to be a gradual process that we're going to try and do. On that point, I'm going to say thank you very much. And as a general rule, and I'm going to apply it today because we're sort of time's moving on. We started late because of the trains. I'm not going to take any questions, but I'm here all day. So if you have any questions, everywhere else in the world, I say, please, you can ask me a question with pleasure. Bring me a coffee or a beer. But I'm in Israel, so if you want to ask me a question, bring me a falafel. If you haven't, don't worry. I have to say, in the Netherlands, at a Jumma Day, I finished my presentation. I was in the bar afterwards, and someone comes up to me with a beer. I said, oh, thank you very much. And he said, can I ask you a question? And I said, of course you can ask a question. He said, where are the toilets? So I can't tell you where they are, but if you do have any questions about Joomla, please come and find me and ask me. If your English isn't great, don't worry, I'm not embarrassed about it. My Hebrew is terrible as well, so we can try together to work it out. Thank you very much.